All right, so when I did the original review of the first solo stove, there was several comments that came up saying that people could just take a washing machine drum out of an old washing machine and it would be the same thing as a solo stove. So I figured we'd do this Family Feud style and we would check. So the solo stove is exactly like a washing machine drum. Survey says... All right, before we get deep in this review, let's go over a couple quick specs. Now, you can find all the specs on the Solo Stove Bonfire 2 on Solo Stove's website. Plus, they also have two other models, the Ranger and the Yukon. Now, this Bonfire is 19.5 inches across, its height is 14 inches, and it weighs 23.3 pounds and is made of stainless steel. The Solo Stove came in some nice packaging, which of course I threw away as soon as I got the Solo Stove out of the packaging. It does come with a cover, which is nice for storage, and starting a fire in the Solo Stove is pretty straightforward. If you have any basic fire making skills, you're not going to have any issues. Now, one thing I should note is that they say do not use water in the Solo Stove to put it out. Let it burn out completely before packing it back away. All right, so now that we've gone over the specs and the packaging, so let's look at why the Solo Stove is not like a washing machine drum. So the thing is, the Solo Stove is a double-walled stainless steel fire pit. And what that double wall does is it allows the Solo Stove to generate basically a second burn, which helps eliminate a lot of the smoke. And so how that happens is you can see that there is holes down around the bottom of the Solo Stove. Those holes bring in air, which then travel up the sides of the Solo Stove and then come out this top row of inner holes. That top row of inner holes, or that air coming through there, is superheated, and when it hits the smoke off the wood, it reignites it and makes a cleaner burn, so you end up with less smoke out of the Solo Stove, and it also makes a very attractive flame. So that's how the Solo Stove works, and that is why a washing machine drum will never be exactly like the Solo Stove, because it is just a single-walled metal bin. It's with a bunch of holes in it. It's never going to work like a Solo Stove works. Yes, you can have a fire in it, but it's just going to be a fire in a metal drum. It's not going to be smokeless or offer less smoke than like the Solo Stove does. So one of the things that are different about this Solo Stove over the original Solo Stove is the removable base. So as you can see, you can bring out the grate. Before, this was fixed inside the Solo Stove, and so when you were trying to clean out the ash and stuff in the Solo Stove, you had to kind of basically lift the Solo Stove up, shake it around a bunch, and try to get that ash out. Here you've got a grate that comes out, and then below it you also have a removable ash pan. And that's pretty much everything that is different about the Solo Stove 2 versus the original Solo Stove. All right, so let's quickly go over the pros of the Solo Stove and the things that I do like about it. Now, first and foremost, the thing that I like about about any type of portable fire pit, whether it be the Solo Stove or any other type of portable fire pit like this, is the leave no trace. A lot of the fire pits that are often you find in camp spots, especially dispersed spots, you don't know what has been thrown in there. A lot of people use them as garbage receptacles. I've talked about this a lot in the past, but you can find anything from women's products to just regular garbage to drug needles and things like that. And I just definitely do not want to be burning my fire and sitting around that fire smelling whatever is burning there. So I like having a portable fire pit. Another reason why I like a portable fire pit is a lot of times I like to have my fire right out in front of the van. And that means that I may not always be able to position the van where the fire pit is at in the camp spot. So having a portable fire pit that I can just throw out, have my fire in, and then easily pick up and clean up is really appealing to me. So that is one of the things I really love. And then for me, the thing that I really love about the Solo Stove, which is maybe a con for some people, is the fact that it is smokeless. And I think if you're looking at this, that is the main reason why you're looking at it, is it just produces far less smoke than a traditional fire pit. And that is really great. I like being able to sit down enjoy the fire, and not have to constantly be playing musical chairs with the smoke because it's blowing right in my face. If this thing is burning efficiently in the way that's designed to work, it does a great job, and it really makes it a pleasure to be around the fire. The third thing that I like about it is it's just very attractive to look at. I think when it's burning efficiently and everything is working, it has a very attractive flame. The Solo Stove itself is a nice piece. It gets a nice patina on it, which some people like, some people don't like. I actually do like the patina, and I just think it's a nice looking fire. It's just, again, a nice fire pit to sit around. The other thing that I do like that they've done with this fire pit, especially the two, over the one, is this removable grate. Being able to pull this out and clean the ash and everything out of the fire pit is definitely a plus. Alright, so now let's go into the cons of the fire pit, the things that I don't like. Now, the original Solo Stove, my main con was the size, and that is obviously still the same thing with this particular fire pit, is that it's just, in my opinion, too big and bulky to carry for camping and overlanding, or specifically in my van. I just, as much as I like the fact that it is very efficient and doesn't produce a lot of smoke, the trade-off in weight and space just isn't worth it to me. So this won't be in my van moving forward. The other con that I find with this particular fire pit is, even though they did add this removable grate, which is very nice, the way they designed the bottom, there is a hole, and this air can go in and then it comes out this main center hole. But the way they designed that space is, if anything does fall down inside there, you cannot get it out. As you can kind of hear, I have some stuff inside the Solo Stove right now. You can hear it going around there, but no matter how I shake it, I cannot get it to come out of that hole the way that they designed the bottom piece. It falls down, when it's upside down, it falls to the sides here instead of falling to the center to that hole. So then you shake it around, and you can't get it out unless you get lucky and it comes out the side holes. But in this case, you can see, and maybe here, all that stuff shaking around in there that I put, and you can't get it to come out of the bottom of the Solo Stove. So to me, they need to redesign that a little differently so that when you put it upside down, things will want to naturally come out to the center. And then my third con that I have on the Solo Stove, which again is the same con that I had about the original Solo Stove, is when you got a nice fire going in here, there is a lot of heat that is coming straight out the top, but you're not going to feel much heat coming out the sides. In fact, when this thing is burning good and hot, you can stick your hand right up against the side of the Solo Stove, and you're not going to feel any heat coming off the side of the Solo Stove. So if it's a really cold day and your feet are freezing, you're not going to get any residual heat out the sides. And that to me is a major con. It also is a safety issue a little bit. So if you have kids or pets running around, they're not going to feel any heat off the side. And so they may be willing to touch or feel like they can touch the side of this. And you cannot. I mean, I'm telling you, even though you're not going to feel any heat, this will burn the crap out of you. It is very, very hot. I actually made this mistake with the original Solo Stove and burned myself very badly on the outside of this, not paying attention to how close I was to it one day. So I'm just telling you that it will be very hot, but you're not going to feel the heat off the side. So that's something that you have to be very aware of. All right, guys, so let's talk about, my final thoughts on this. So my final thoughts on this is, as I kind of, mentioned, it is just too big for me. And so I am not going to keep this in the van. It's just too much space. As much as I like the way the Solo Stove burns, I'm going to stick with the original fire pit that I've been using, which is the pop-up fire pit. I definitely like how the Solo Stove burns better than the pop-up fire pit, but I definitely like that the pop-up fire pit breaks down into a much smaller package. Still gives me that leave no trace, but it just doesn't burn as nice as a Solo Stove. But the smaller size is just more appealing to me with the van. I do think that this is great for anybody who has, you know, a big backyard, likes to entertain, do barbecues, have people over, or just want to have a place to both come out and enjoy a fire in the backyard. As you guys can probably see, I'm at some friend's house right now, and this is actually a great place for the Solo Stove. And, you know, this is where I would definitely lean towards the Solo Stove over anything else, just because of the fact that the size and the bulk isn't going to matter in a backyard patio situation. And I really, like I said, I really do like the way it burns a fire inside. So, you know, kind of quickly run down, yeah, if it's, you know, backyard barbecues, patios, all that stuff, I think this is a great unit for that. Camping, overlanding, van life, you absolutely can do it if you want to sacrifice a space, but it's not ideal for me, so it's not going to be what I'm going to be using in my van. Anyways, guys, if you're interested in the Solo Stove, definitely check out their website. I'll have a link down below to where you can go check it out. If you found this video useful and helpful in some way, please do give it a like. If you have any comments or questions, leave those down below, and we'll see you guys again outside.